And I want to frame it all in the context of the continued resolve of big tech companies around AI, despite the just mammoth sums they're required to invest in AI infrastructure to create the AI compute required for just huge amounts of AI applications and services that users can build or rebuild their activities around. So the resolve of big tech and also the resilience of the foundation model companies. The foundation model companies are obviously iterating aggressively on their frontier models and are seeing sometimes cybersecurity vulnerabilities. We talked about this over the last few days with Anthropic putting up the issue of cybersecurity issues around its Mythos LLMs. Similarly, OpenAI with its Spud AIs, etc. And despite the headwinds on all of this, there is an underlying resilience of the methodologies of building these models, not just training them, but also building the huge amounts of inference technologies, both the hardware and the software, to continue to iterate at rates far beyond Moore's law from an improvement point of view. So this is not just the model companies, but also in partnership with key companies like NVIDIA that continue to innovate across its roadmap from Hopper to Blackwell today to Vera Rubin in the next couple of years, and then Feynman and beyond. And those improvements on the AI fundamental vertical stack infrastructure provides exponential improvement for these companies to build on. And that then, even with the early fragility and early lack of bells and whistles around these applications, customers, especially enterprise customers, are absolutely finding the product market fit for these technologies, particularly amongst developers. And that has led to the results of what we are hearing from corporate customers. Just yesterday, for instance, Uber's CTO said that their developers have already shifted and added AI productivity beyond chatbots to AI agents in how they develop their applications for this $150 billion plus company. And those developers in the thousands are already meeting and exceeding the compute budgets, the token maxing, as it were, of their development cycles. I've talked about token maxing in a recent post as well. Again, the numbers will be in the show notes. So that's one example. The other example I can give you is both Anthropic and OpenAI are just in the last few days are adjusting their prices upward for enterprise customers, partly because of their is a relatively limited amount of AI compute that's available that they can serve up these compute capabilities. They're obviously spending tens of billions of dollars to build gigawatt data centers, but that'll take a couple, 2 or 3 years, as I've talked about. So in the meantime, they're doing what they would logically do, which is raise pricing, and customers are adopting that because they are finding value in the results of these technologies. And that's another example of the pricing piece. A third example I can give you is Salesforce is developing something called AWUs, which is a metric that they've made up to basically match the token maxing rush that's going on amongst developers within companies in terms of generating leaderboards of who uses the most tokens, i.e. being most productive, that can be visible to their bosses, but also translating that into actual measurable output of activities so that their managers can see, hey, if we're spending X amount of budget on all these tokens, we're getting these Y amount of results of that spend. And so we're going to see a lot more efforts along these lines to build measurement metrics around expending tokens in the enterprise. So these are all early days, and there's a lot of activity around this to come. And I've touched on a lot of this token maxing, etc., in recent posts. Again, the posts will be in the show notes, specifically post 1033, where I talk about token maxing in particular.